Hello, everybody. Hope you're well. Suspect you're not, but hope you are. I'm making another live video. I don't really have anything new to say. I've been saying the same thing for a very long time now, and I'll keep saying it because it's getting more and more significant, more and more important, and hopefully more and more people are beginning to realize that it's the only way. What I've been saying for a long time, and I will continue to say, is that the only way out of the problems that we seem to have in the world today, whether those problems are viruses or pandemics or plandemics or scamdemics or real pandemics or terrorism or drugs or climate change or racism or inequality, whatever the perceived problem is, the real problem is perception itself. It's how we view the world that is causing us the problems, because we do not see clearly this is what it means to be asleep. And 99% of people that watch this video are asleep, which means that probably that's you. And yep, a lot of people are just going to switch off now because the ego has been pricked, but that's the problem. Our egos are the problem. And it's not your fault. This has been done to you. This has been done to all of us. Humanity has been hijacked. And hey, Bima, humanity has been hijacked. And the wool has magically been pulled over your eyes as it was pulled over my eyes. And 99% of people are completely asleep. It's not our fault. We are not intrinsically bad or mistaken or damaged. This has been done to us. And part of the problem is that we see the big picture through the lens of this little life that we live, this 100 years or 60 years or 90 years or however long our life is. It's a very short time. And the game that is being played for eons. It's been going on probably forever. And we are pawns in this game. This is what has been done to us. We have been reduced to mere pawns in a huge battle between the forces of light and the forces of darkness. And this is literally what is happening. And all the time that our attention is being distracted, whether our attention is being distracted by the latest gadget or sex or current events, politics, left and right, whatever it is that our attention is being distracted towards, we have to reclaim our attention. And it's very, very difficult because we've been trained, conditioned, literally brainwashed to think in a certain way and to respond, or rather react emotionally to certain things in certain ways. We have been energetically tampered with. And so this is why, as I said a little while ago, 99% of people are completely asleep. And if I say this to somebody, including now, people get offended, as I was offended when I was told that I was asleep. I was a yoga teacher. I thought I was very spiritual. I thought I was very wise. I thought I knew a lot of things, but I knew nothing, because everything that I had acquired in terms of knowledge and information and wisdom had been acquired through the lens of this energetic prison that I was in that kept me asleep. And the only way for humanity to move forwards out of the mess that we're in, the only way is for enough of us to wake up and to really see what's going on. Waking up means to see what's what. It means to open the eyes and to see reality. Because at the moment, we are seeing through this filter. We do not see what's what. We do not see what's going on. And our perception is constantly being fed. We're spoon fed. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Vera. Hi, Dan. Hi, Janet. So you have a choice. You have a choice. Your choice is to continue sending your attention outwards, to keep looking at the media, to keep looking at the social media, to keep allowing your attention and your life force and your energy to be controlled, literally controlled, so that you are not in the driving seat of your life. And this is what is happening to humanity. We're not in the driving seat. Civilizationally, societally, we are going down a very, very dangerous road, because humanity at the moment is like one big puppet whose strings are being pulled by very dark, nefarious forces. And if we, and by we I mean you, an individual, and I, an individual, if we as individuals do not take responsibility for our lives, take responsibility for our attention, take responsibility for our thoughts and our feelings and the energy that is our life force, if we do not take responsibility for our lives now, then it really doesn't look good. And, you know, most people that watch this video will be relatively spiritual. They'll be, you know, they will have meditated. They might have done yoga. They might think that they're more awake than most. But you have to understand that spirituality in 2020 is a trap. It is a trap, just like politics is a trap, just like academia is a trap. Just like watching the media is a trap. Anywhere that you put your attention externally is a trap. The only way forward is to reclaim your power. And it's very, very difficult. It's not easy. It's hugely challenging. It took me decades, mostly because I was doing it on my own and I didn't have guidance. So it's hard. When you begin, it's going to take some time. It's going to take a few years of really hard work, of uncomfortable, ugly, messy, hard work. Because the chances are that unless you've really seriously been doing this work in a very intensive and dedicated and disciplined and committed way for some time, you really probably have no idea what is really going on. So it's not easy. And, you know, look, I wish, in many ways, I wish that I could sit here and tell you something beautiful, something pretty, something comforting, like most people are going to tell you, like most so-called healers and spiritual teachers. They're going to paint a pretty picture, but it's not the truth. The truth is that the only way out of this is to really put in some very, very serious, dedicated, committed, disciplined, hard work to reclaim your power. Because your power has been stolen from you in 1,000 different ways since even before you were born, for the last few thousand years. And to reclaim that power, you have to reclaim your anger, you have to reclaim your rage, you have to reclaim your grief. And you have to express those things and you have to embody them. You have to reclaim your energy. You have to reclaim your sexuality, your sensuality. You have to reclaim your masculinity and your femininity, and then you have to do the work to unite them internally so that you can rebirth yourself. And all of this is not easy. You have to strengthen your boundaries. And most people have no idea what that means. They think that strengthening boundaries means asserting themselves, and it does not mean that. Boundaries do not have to be asserted. If you have to assert your boundaries, it means that your boundaries are weak, and they need to be organically from the inside strengthened. What else do we have to do? We have to deal with our fear, and this is the first step. We have to learn how to live with our fear and how to overcome it. We have to learn how to become free, sovereign beings, and that's before we can reclaim our power. Then we reclaim our power, and having reclaimed our power, then and only then can we come into our hearts. This is the roadmap. This is the way that it's done. This is the work that we need to do as individuals in order to change society, because society consists of individuals. That's all it is. It's you and me. So I'll keep saying it, and I'll keep pissing people off, and people will keep misinterpreting what I'm saying and thinking that I'm angry and thinking that I'm lacking compassion and thinking, because you cannot understand somebody who's walked this path if you haven't walked it. You're literally speaking a different language. Anyway, I'm here to help you. Anybody that has the strength and the courage to do it, I'm here. And if you have any questions right now before I wrap this up, then go ahead and use the comment section. I'm feeling the messiness right now, says Janet. I felt in May something good was coming, and I thought good meant good, but it's not good in the sense I was thinking. It's good in the breaking through of all the hard stuff. Yeah, the only good way is breaking through the hard stuff, and it's really hard. It's really hard. If you think about what you have to do, what we have to do, we have to heal a couple of 1,000 years worth of unresolved ancestral trauma. Like almost all of us have got a couple of 1,000 years worth of deep wounds and unresolved trauma that needs to be healed. We're all indigenous. We're all people of color. We're all the same. We all came from tribes. And those tribes, where are they now? They were destroyed. We have been divided and conquered again and again and again and again for thousands of years. This is where our power has gone. We are all slaves. This is what you have to understand. You're a slave. And this idea that you're free, this idea of the USA, land of the free, home of the brave, this is part of the programming. We've been told that we're free. We believe that we're free. We behave as if we're free. But how free are you? How free are you? If you want to walk around naked, can you do that? No. If you want to express your rage openly, can you? No. You'll get locked up. You'll get arrested. Are you free to kill yourself? No. That's taboo. That's not allowed. You'll get locked up. Are you free to travel wherever you want, however you want? No. You have to have documents. You have to have papers. Are you free to do whatever kind of work you want? No. Are you free to hold on to what you earn? No. You're taxed 1,000 different ways every day. Are you free to drive your car without a seatbelt? No. Are you free to ride a bicycle without a helmet? No. Are you free to... And these freedoms are being taken away slowly, drip by drip, over such a long period of time that we haven't noticed. But if you look at what's happening now, if you do a little bit of serious research into what is happening now as a reaction, supposedly, to the so-called corona, you know what, look at the laws that have been passed in New Zealand recently. The people of New Zealand now have zero human rights. They do not have the right to own a business. They do not have the right to own a home or property. They don't have a right to have their children. Their children can be taken away. Their businesses can be closed down. If you own a website, the website can be shut down, just like that. People literally have no human rights anymore. And this has been happening slowly for a very, very long time. And there are mechanisms behind this, because you will undoubtedly find yourself thinking about, how is this possible? How can this be true? And it is true. It's true because the reason we can't understand it is because we have no idea what's really going on. And this is why it's so very, very difficult waking up. And as Janet says, breaking through the hard stuff, because in order to wake up, you have to completely let go of the worldview that you've held onto your whole life. And it's like dying. It's like dying while you're still alive. This is ego death. This is spiritual rebirth that we're talking about. And this is what's happening now. Humanity is going through the process of a huge spiritual rebirth. Whether you like it or not, this is what's going to happen. And you have a choice. You can either get dragged through the process, which is what's happening to most people, reluctantly and painfully, or you can take control, get in the driving seat and do it willingly. And if you do that, it's a lot less painful and it's a lot quicker, but it's still very hard, which is why no one wants to do it. But thankfully, and I say thankfully because I'm grateful for this, it's coming to a point where the old ways of kind of distraction and seeking comfort and, you know, entertainment and burying our heads in the sand, it's becoming impossible, isn't it? You know, so do the work. And my strong recommendation is that you find somebody that can really help you, like me. You need support on this path. And, you know, we're human beings, we're pack animals, we're social beings, and we come from tribes where there were elders and there were shamans and there were chiefs, and we had huge support networks. And one of the problems that we have today, and this has been done to us on purpose, is that we're so individuated, we're so isolated and independent. We've forgotten the true nature of things, which is interdependence. You need help. You cannot do it on your own. So invest your time, invest your energy, invest some of your money in doing what's important. Not just for you, but for the whole world, for the whole of humanity. It is the only way. Nobody is going to save us. No Donald Trump. No angels are going to come down from the heavens. No aliens are going to come and intervene for us. We are basically creating this for ourselves through our willful ignorance and through our lack of responsibility for our own lives. And it really, really saddens me that so few people have the integrity and the courage to actually invest themselves in their own lives. Everybody just wants to sit back and wait for somebody to save things, some politician to fix things, which is, to me, just seems so stupid. What do we say about politicians? We put them in the same category as lawyers and real estate agents. We don't fucking trust them for good reason until they're elected into power. And then suddenly we hope that they've got our best interests at heart. And we keep voting, and we keep voting, and we keep voting, even though nothing really changes. Victor is saying, thanks for showing us the way and giving us options. And yes, absolutely, humans are a slave to modern society. Sadness that many people have not awoken to this. Yeah, we are literally slaves. Watch the movies, the Matrix movies. Because you see, the ones who are in power, the ones who are pulling the strings, the ones who are controlling everything that happens on the planet at the moment, there is a rule. They have to tell you what they're doing. This is a spiritual law, a law of nature. They cannot exert control over you without telling you first that they're going to do it. If they tell you that they're going to do it and you don't react, then you've given them permission. Watch the Matrix movies and understand the allegory, the metaphor that is written into those movies. Pay close attention, because it's an almost literal telling of the situation that we are in today, that humanity is in today. Janet is asking, what does being in the driving seat look like? Going against the grain, breaking these restrictions? Being in the driving seat means simply knowing that you are the supreme authority in the universe. You are the supreme, the highest authority in your world. There is none above you. No man, no woman, no God above you. And this life that you have been given, and it really is a gift, is your responsibility. So being in the driving seat, yeah, it means going against the grain when everybody is pissing away their power, pissing away their responsibility. Being in the driving seat and taking responsibility for your life definitely means going against the grain. And it's not easy. It's very, very hard. Going against the grain is hard. It's very hard. It's tiring. It's exhausting. It's lonely. So now's the time where I say I have an online community. It's called Sangha, which means a spiritual community. And in that community, we do the work day in, day out, week after week, month after month. The people that I work with are leveling up. They're getting their power. They're reclaiming their authority. And I invite you to join us. I run it with Kimber, who's my love, my partner, wise woman. And together we lead this little community. And basically what we do is we do the work, because she and I have walked this path. And we've walked this path in the face of tremendous adversity, catalogue of abuses, all kinds of abuses that we have managed to transcend, that we have managed to overcome, and come to a point now where we are in our power. And the reason why we do it is to share it with people, because that's what we do. It's not really a choice. It's just that's who we are and that's what we do. So, you know, it's frustrating because I'm saying the same thing for such a long time now, and so few people really respond to it. So few people have the courage to stand up in their life and take responsibility. It's so much easier to to just keep doing things the way you've always done them, isn't it? You know, but nothing's going to change. If you keep doing things the way you've always done them, then you're going to keep having the same experiences that you've always had. And I'll say it again, the vast majority of healers and spiritual teachers are operating from a place of ego. They want fame, they want adulation, they want money, they want power, and they want sex. And it's as simple as that. They might not even know it, but they are being played. Not everybody, but most. So be very careful who you pay attention to. Yeah, you feel my frustration, Marianne. There's a misconception that people who are, well, the first misconception is that awake and enlightened are the same thing, and they're not the same thing. Awake means awake. Awake means awake, awake, present, in the driving seat, not being played, not being controlled, not being manipulated, unfuckwithable. That's awake. It's not enlightened. I'm not interested in enlightened. We don't need to get enlightened. You know, that's really not what it's about. It's about waking up and living a life that is worth something, which the vast majority of people for a very long time now have been unable to do. And one of the biggest catalysts for me on my journey, on my path, was watching my father, watching how he lived and watching how he died. He was a wise man. He was a very spiritual man. He was a very good man. He was very well intentioned. He was a businessman who owned his own business and gave all of his employees shares in that business. He did a lot of work for charity. He was married to my mum for like 40 years or something, was always faithful. He raised 3 kids. One was adopted. You know, you'd have to look pretty hard to find a man, more of a stand-up guy. And he died an abject, miserable, painful, very, very he died a very bad way, you know. And the reason for that is that he never really knew what was going on. One of the last things he said to me was that he felt like a failure. And another thing that he said to me very near the end was that he had no idea what was going on. He said, I don't know what to believe anymore. There's this and there's this and there's all this information. And how do you know what's going on? And the truth is that, as I said earlier, we've had the wool pulled over our eyes. Great deceit. Humanity right now is living in an absolute fog of confusion. And if you don't want to live the rest of your life deeply bogged down in confusion and squalor and slavery, then you have to reclaim your power, and it's hard work. And doing yoga and, you know, gazing at your navel and doing the latest meditation technique and lighting incense and chanting mantras, none of it is going to help you. Spirituality, as it has been sold to us, is just another trap. Because the issue that we face is not a spiritual issue. It has nothing to do with spirituality. It has to do with attention. It has to do with thinking. It has to do with energy. It has to do with your body. And it has to do with reclaiming your attention and learning how to pay attention to what is important and what is valuable to you. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. So, you know, I do these live videos a lot over the years, and every time I do a live video, it's really a rallying call. You know, I'm putting out a rallying call to anybody that is coming to the point where they are prepared to do the work. And it takes deep commitment. Take your time and ask yourself, am I going to break out of this slavery system that has taken the lives of so many of my ancestors? Am I going to spend my life, live my life, and die with the wool pulled over my eyes, in confusion, not knowing what's true, not knowing what the fuck is going on? Do you know what's true? Do you understand what truth means? Do you care for truth? Do you value truth? How much do you value truth? And if you don't value truth, what do you value? What do you value? I'm asking you, and I would like you, if you're watching now, to share in a comment. What do you value? When you come to the end of your life, when you suddenly realize, this is my last moment, this is my last moment, I'm about to take my last breath, and all of a sudden all of those ego games are gone, because the whole purpose of the ego is to keep you alive. When you know you're going to die, the ego is gone. In that last moment, or in those last moments, when the ego steps out of the picture, and you look back as your life flashes before your eyes, as it does, and you look back, are you going to die with regret? In those last moments where you see your life flash before, all of your life flash before your eyes, are you going to think, oh, fuck, wish I could do it all over again, I would do it differently? Or are you going to go with a smile and gratitude for this gift of life that we've been given and how you spent it? Because if you don't know, in that moment, if you don't know what's going on, then you will die with regret, as my father died with regret. And it's a very, very, it's a tragedy when that happens. Any human being that dies like that, it is tragic, because it's not what we're meant for. Truth, integrity. I used to really value integrity. I used to really, my father had great integrity. I used to say I'd never met a human being with more integrity than my father. But I tell you something, integrity is worthless. It doesn't mean anything if you don't know the truth. Unconditional love. Unconditional love, you don't know what unconditional love is. You don't. You don't know what it is. It's just a nice idea. I've heard so many people talk about unconditional love. My ex-girlfriend still bangs on about unconditional love. She can't even love her child properly. Do you love your parents unconditionally? No, you don't. Do you love your neighbors unconditionally? If you're a Republican, do you love Democrats unconditionally? No, you don't. We cannot know unconditional love without knowing the truth. Authenticity. There is no authenticity. Nobody is authentic. Life is inauthentic. The only thing worth pursuing in this life, the only thing worth living for is truth. Without truth, you have nothing. And it is truth, as a very wise man, as a wiser man than I am once said, the truth will set you free. We are slaves. We need to break free. It's the truth that leads us to freedom. So, all of these nice ideas, unconditional love, authenticity, integrity, etc., 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 you view them Your idea of unconditional love is an idea that is only understood through the lens of slavery, of your own slavery. Your idea of integrity is an idea, a concept that you cannot fully understand because you view it, you understand it only through the perception, through the lens of slavery. And you see, the truth is that what has been done to us is that we've been traumatized systematically for a very long time. And the end result is that we are now, all of us, absolutely bound, wrapped up in our egos. Human society is run by ego. The people who are pointing at the police at the moment, that finger is ego. The people that are pointing at the looters at the moment, that is ego. The people that are pointing at Trump, that's ego. The Trump who's that's ego. Everybody, the whole fucking species is just bound up in ego. The path of awakening is to break free of ego, because ego lies to you. Your ego is a great liar. It will do anything to keep you as you are. It's not even about keeping you alive. It just insists on keeping things as they are, the status quo. So look, I asked you a question. Yana said unconditional love, and I said no. And then she said, why not? Children. Well, I said truth first. It's ego. Everything we do and everything we say comes from ego. And when you understand that and you decide, I want to know something else, I want to know who I really am, and not live my life only through the filter of ego, then you come to the point where you're ready to put the work in. Yana, you don't know unconditional love. You cannot, unconditional love for your children, that's not unconditional love. And believe me, I'm a father, and I know if you do not have unconditional love in you, then you won't have it for anyone else. You may think that you love your children unconditionally. But just wait until they're teenagers and they start rebelling against you, and they start getting pimply, and they start doing all the things that you wished you'd done, and it changes very quickly. And this love that we think we know is biological programming. When you love your partner, let me put it like this. You've had multiple partners, boyfriends. At some point in time, you thought you loved all of them unconditionally. You thought this is the real thing. A little bit later, move on. Right? Our egos fuck with us. And 99% of people that watch this video are being run day in, day out by ego. Annetta says, isn't truth tainted by blind spots? No, truth is not tainted by anything. Truth is absolute. Truth and God are basically synonymous. Truth is pure, otherwise it's not true. Bear with me, I'll be 2 seconds. I just have to turn on a battery. I live on a boat and it's wonderful, but the electrics come from the battery, which comes from the engine. It's complicated. Sometimes I have to run the engine. So Betty is asking, can I elaborate and define slavery? Yeah, slavery is a lack of freedom. If you're not free, you're a slave. And what are we slaves to? Well, we're slaves to a debt-based monetary system. It's unnecessary. Our ancestors lived for hundreds of thousands of years without debt. But we've been told that we need this system. It's not true. We need to get away from this system. Government. We don't need government. You don't need to be governed. You don't need an endless and ever-growing list of rules and regulations to govern your life. Yana's saying, no, it doesn't. I don't live out of my ego. If that were true, you wouldn't be saying that, Yana. The fact that you're defending yourself against what I'm saying shows that you're coming from ego. Anytime you find yourself defending, there's something for you to learn and something for you to grow from. And I'm not doing this to attack you. You know, I don't want to make you feel bad, but I am going to tell you the truth. You see, most people think that. Most people think, I don't live from my ego, I live from my soul, I'm spiritual. It's bullshit. It's just nonsense. Because you haven't really done the work to get to that point, you know? And very few people have. So back to the question about slavery. Well, right now you're a slave to the police, you're a slave to whatever politician is running your country, and 99% of countries around the world at the moment are run by psychopaths, and 99% of those psychopaths are all in bed with each other, literally and metaphorically. There is a big agenda to enslave humanity at the moment. This is not conspiracy theory, you know. You don't have to do much research or much reading to understand what's really going on. There are forces at play that are much greater than we have been told exist. That's the truth. So we are slaves to the worldview that has been given to us. And it's been given to us. And the people that have given it to us know better. I'll be right back. The worldview that we've been given, the worldview that is consensus reality and that 90% of people in the world today believe, is that you are born into this world. That in itself is a lie. It's that we come from great poverty and sickness, that it's just a miracle that our ancestors survived and that we got here, because they just didn't know how to live, you know. They lived in their own shit. They were always sick. They didn't live very long, and it's all lies. All of history that we've been told is either outright lies or is tainted with misinformation. We live in the age of misinformation. You know, this idea of false news, fake news, what's it called? Fake news. But yeah, but all of it is fake. The history is fake. The news is fake. The worldview is fake. So, and when people, I remember when I first started to understand this, it's paralyzing. It's paralyzing because you suddenly feel like, well, It's terrifying, basically. And you freeze, and then you don't do anything about it because you're so frozen by it. You're so scared by it. But you see, the truth, the difference between the lie and the truth is not that much. It sounds like it's a world of difference, but it's really not. The veil that has been put over our eyes is very thin. It's very thin. So I want to keep talking about this. It's a very good question. Can you elaborate and define slavery? I'm going to keep talking about this topic of slavery. I want you to think about this question. Who has authority over you? Who has authority over you? If anybody has authority over you, then you're a slave. If anybody can say to you, you can't do that, you mustn't do that, you're not allowed to drive your car without a seatbelt, it's illegal, then you're a slave because your life is being dictated. You must not, you're not allowed to ride that bicycle without a crash helmet. You're not allowed. You're a slave. You must wear a face mask. You must stay 2 meters away from other human beings. You must not walk on the grass. You must stay in your lane. There are countless rules and regulations that run our lives. And we're so inured to it, we're so used to it, that we don't even notice, and we just take it as, well, it's okay. That's just the way it is. But it's not okay. The truth is that no man or woman, entity, spirit, or God, nothing and no one has any authority over you because you are a child of God. Whatever that word means to you. And I'm not religious, so I don't mean it in a religious way. We are children of the intelligence that is the creative force in this universe. Let's just call it God. We're children of God. So who has authority over you? Who has authority over you, truly? The answer is nobody. You are your own authority. But you keep on giving away your power. Denise says, connection to nature and my natural state, which is my true state and place of freedom. It is happening while having to work from home. I'm outside more and feel so connected to who I am at the core. So Yana says, so what is the truth? Nobody can tell you what the truth is. You know, I could sit here and try to tell you, answer that question, but it would be really pointless for a number of reasons. First of all, if you don't have a direct experience of truth, and very few people do, if you don't have a direct experience of truth yet, then it cannot, you will not be able to comprehend it through words. It's written. The Tao that can be spoken or written is not the true Tao. You cannot, meaning you cannot speak, you cannot say this is the truth, because the truth is absolute. The definition of truth is absolute. So if you want to know, if that question, what is the truth, if that is a sincere question, and I suspect it is not, but if it is a sincere question, in other words, if you sincerely want to know the truth, then you have to set out and you have to find it. You have to go on a mission. You have to make your life a mission. I want to know the truth. And I tell you something, that's a valuable, valuable way to spend your life. Very few people do that. what do people do with their lives? Well, I'm going to have a family, I'm going to have some sprogs, I'm going to try and make enough money to be comfortable, I'm going to have a house, maybe I'll have a holiday home somewhere, and, you know, have a couple of cars and blah, 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 right? How do people spend their lives? I'm going to keep voting, and I'm going to hope that the government, you know, does the right thing, and blah, blah, blah. Waste of life. Waste. If you want to spend your life in a valuable way, then searching for what is true, really it's the only way to live, because everything else that is not true is false. One way of answering the question, what is the truth, is to say that which is not false, that which is permanent, because what is true will always be true. Can't be true for 5 minutes, right? Can't be true for now, but it won't be true tomorrow. If it's true, it's true. Truth is permanent. Truth is absolute. And that's something worth fighting for. That's something worth living for. Because when you find it, and the extent to which you find it is the extent to which you can say, I've really lived. My life is worth something. This is why the veil has been pulled over our eyes, so that we squander our life force, so that we squander our energy, so that this attention that we have can be manipulated and diverted. And it's not about money. It's not because wealthy people want to keep us poor so they can have more money. The people that are doing this have unlimited resources. They don't want money. They're not interested in money. That's like trying to sell a fish water. Doesn't need it, swims in it. It's about control, and it's about the control of your soul. It's about the control of your attention. It's about the control of your energy and your life force. And when I say you, I mean you as an individual and humanity as a whole. So if we want to help humanity, we have to help ourselves first. You cannot help anybody until you've freed yourself. When you're free, then you're in power, then you can do something. Until then, you really are just a puppet. So Ashley says, I guess answering the question, what is truth? When you stop lying to yourself and others. I think that's one of the most common conceptions of what is truth, but that's not really it, you know. You can lie. You can lie to other people. You can even lie to yourself and still know truth. Because when you lie, it's what you say and it's what you think. But real truth is an alignment. When you know truth, you align with what is real, with what is true, with reality. And the truth is that sometimes in this world we have to lie. You know, there is nothing in this life, in this world, that is absolutely good or absolutely bad. Nothing. And the idea of morality, the idea that we must have this kind of moral code that we stick to, and it's another trap. It's another trap. The world that we live in is the world of relativity. Nothing is fixed in this world. The truth is true in and beyond this world. So not lying is not truth. It's not. Truth is much bigger than that. Aha, so Annetta says, so how do you discern truth? How can I be sure I live the truth? Okay, good question. How do you discern truth? So the question is about discernment. How do you develop discernment? Discernment means knowing what's true. Knowing, it's an internal knowing. Discernment. I discern. And very, very few people have discernment, which is why we rely on experts and politicians and doctors and fact-checking websites. You know, we need somebody to tell us what's true, don't we? Because we don't discern it. The way to develop discernment, and I would say that that's one of the most valuable things that you can have, the way that you develop discernment is by committing yourself to finding out the truth. When you have tasted truth, When you know truth, then you recognize it everywhere. And you recognize immediately what is false. That's discernment. So how do you discern truth? You work hard to discern truth. You work hard to know truth. And in that way, you develop discernment. The more you experience truth, and the more you align yourself with truth, the more your discernment develops. And I tell you, there's nothing more valuable. I can recognize bullshit in the blink of an eye. In the blink, I smell it before it's even 100 meters away. I can see a website, I can see a politician, I can see so-called facts, and I know that they're bullshit instantly. That's discernment. And there's nothing more valuable. I don't need anybody to tell me anything anymore. And again, to reiterate, I'm not enlightened. I'm not talking about enlightened. I'm talking about awakened, waking up. How can I be sure I live the truth? It takes work. You have to understand that you live currently in a sea of bullshit. We're swimming in bullshit. Everything that we've been told is lies. So you have to start wading. It's hard work. You have to start seeking for a little bit of truth. And little by little, you taste it, you find it, you experience it, and you come to know it. Discernment develops like that. It's not easy. It's hard work. Right. Betty says, that's true about teenagers. I did have a point when I went, oh my God, I hate my kids. It was hard for me to accept, but then it passed as I accepted it. Right. Look, everybody goes through this with children at some point, 11. Everybody goes through this at some point with children. Every parent has a moment of like, I fucking hate this thing. This being is driving me crazy. The unconditional love that we thought we felt for it, or that we thought we would feel for our children, goes away very quickly sometimes. Yeah, I know, Yana. I'm giving you a hard time. It's my job. Don't take it personally. Listen, let's go back to unconditional love. Unconditional love is something that is very, very, very hard to get to. It's a state of awareness. It's not an emotion. It's not an idea or a concept. It's a state of awareness, an embodied state of awareness. And the only people who can know unconditional love are the people that have fully integrated first, second, third, and fourth chakras. If you're unfamiliar with this language, a chakra is an energetic center. We are energetic beings. This physical structure that we take to be, the real thing, is just energy. And it is the product of our energy body. Our energy body is more real than our physical body. But we've had the wool pulled over our eyes, and all we know is this. Some of you maybe have had some experiences of energy, but not much, if we're really honest. You maybe tasted it. You maybe felt something that you think is a chakra. You maybe felt some waves of energy through your body, but 23 hours a day at least, your primary experience is material, physical, flesh and bone. Right? So this energy that we are is in a constant state of motion. Energy is always changing. And everything in this universe is made of energy. Everything. Stars, tables, boats, heads, bones, blood, thoughts, feeling. It's all just energy in a constant state of flux. The things that seem the most concrete, the most solid, the most unchanging, they're just changing very slowly. But everything is changing. Everything is changing at different speeds. There's this constant dance happening in the universe. It's all just energy. And in our bodies, which are really a confluence of energy for a little bit of time, 60 years, 100 years, however long you live, some energy comes together, and I call that Ben. In this body that I call Ben, there are certain points where the energy flows in a particular way. And we call them chakras. This is the Sanskrit term that comes from India, Vedantic philosophy, yoga, and so on. Now, we have 7 main chakras. The first chakra is at the root, down at the base of the spine. And the second one is between the hips. Third one is in the solar plexus. Fourth one is in the heart. Fifth in the throat. Sixth is here between the eyebrows and the forehead. Seventh is on the crown. What's been done to us, this veil being pulled over our eyes, has been done by constricting the flow of our energy, so that most people alive today are stuck in the first chakra. That means that your potentiality is hugely limited. It's like you've got, imagine a pie chart, a circle. A little sliver is what most people experience in their whole lifetime. And it's mostly fear. Fear is what runs the ego. I was saying earlier that most people are just all about ego because we're limited to the first chakra. Trauma creates fear, gets us stuck in our ego. So the work that I'm talking about is about unlocking these energetic centers. When you unlock the root chakra by healing the fear and the trauma, you are able then to experience a state of awareness called safety. The state of awareness called safety means knowing that you are safe. Do you know that you're safe? Do you know? Do you feel in your bones? I'm completely safe. Nothing can touch me. Do you know that? No, you don't. That's the first chakra. When that's done, then the second chakra. When the second chakra is out of sync, when it's not integrated, then we experience a negative state of awareness that we could call guilt. Guilt encompasses feeling wrong, feeling bad, feeling worthless, feeling like it's my fault, feeling like I'm not good enough, feeling empty, feeling pointless, feeling depressed, and so on. Everybody has those things in them because almost everybody's second chakra is not integrated. When it's integrated, the positive state of awareness, the resource state of awareness that comes about is what I call freedom. Freedom means knowing I'm free. And not only knowing it, but living your freedom. Doing whatever you want, whenever you want. That's freedom. Because you know there is no authority over me. I am my own authority. And I am therefore sovereign and free to do whatever I want to do. That's the second chakra. When that's done, you move on to the third chakra. When the third chakra is healed in your solar plexus, when that energy is flowing as it is meant to flow because it's not being hindered any longer, then you know your power as a human being. And there is nothing in the universe more powerful than a human being. Nothing. Then, and the negative state of awareness that comes about from an unintegrated solar plexus, third chakra, is shame. When the third chakra is integrated, then we can move on to the fourth, the heart. When we know we're safe, when we live our freedom, when we embody our power, then we can integrate the heart, and only then can we know what unconditional love is. And it begins with unconditional love for self, which begins with total acceptance of self, of life, of reality, of the world, of other people. Total acceptance. Unconditional love means total acceptance, and more than acceptance. Acceptance is just the beginning of unconditional love. So yes, a lot of people are talking about unconditional love, but if they are not embodying their power, if they're not living absolutely freely, and if they don't know in every cell of their being, in every cell and fiber of their being, that they're safe, that they cannot be harmed, then they don't know what they're talking about. Victor says, my perception is ego is the false self thinking that it is important, but it is a false illusion that we've been manipulated into believing that it is part of us. Yeah. Yes. I would just clarify one thing. There's a misconception about ego that it's self-importance. We say, oh, he's being, you know, a lot of people call me egotistical, you know. They say, oh, he's very egotistical because he's so self-important, and he says that he knows the truth and nobody else does, and etc., etc. Self-importance is kind of like one branch on the tree of ego. But you were right the first time when you said it's false self. Ego is false self. And anything and everything which goes into maintaining false self as opposed to truth, any of that is ego. So it's not just self-importance. Ego can also be incredibly self-deprecating. It's ego that says, oh, you're just a worthless piece of shit, you know, because that's what you've learned about yourself. It's false. You're not worthless. You're not worthless. There's nothing more valuable than you in the whole universe. Nothing more valuable. That's false self as well. So yes, it can be self-importance, but it can also be lack of self-worth. Hey, Christopher, you made it. Why can I not scroll? Anyway, social engineering, yes, social engineering is huge. Social engineering. Let's talk a little bit about social engineering. You want to know what social engineering is? Well, look at what's happening at the moment. Look at this whole virus business. And I'm not saying that the virus is real or false or anything. Let's just look at what's happening. These memes that are being spoon-fed to people through the media. Little statements like social distancing and self-isolation, the new normal. This is social engineering. And right now, children in this country, 2 days ago, including my son in another country, coincidence that they're all going back to school at the same time, isn't it? They are being socially engineered. If your children are going to school, they're not getting educated, they're being socially engineered. They're having to stay 2 meters away from each other. They're not allowed to take things home from school. The teacher has to meet them outside the school. Some of them are having their temperatures taken. Why? Maybe it's to do with something with the virus, but there's a bigger picture, and the bigger picture is their minds are being controlled. They're being brainwashed. I go for a walk, and I see parents taking their children off the path as I approach, as if I'm some plague-carrying rat. They are programming their children to be afraid of other people. There is a huge social engineering going on at the moment to make human beings afraid of each other, which is to say, afraid of themselves, right? And all of us have been socially engineered since before we were born. When you were in the womb, you were being socially engineered in many different ways. So social engineering is a vast, complex system, and that's the way in which we have had the wool pulled over our eyes, as I was saying earlier. Yes, our consciousness has been manipulated. Jacqueline says, what is real if all is fake? Good question. Good question. And as I said earlier, I can't tell you. I can't. If I tried, I would just end up looking stupid and you would be none the wiser. You have to decide for yourself. You have to see for yourself that the world is full of shit and fakery and lies and deceit and corruption and abuse. And you have to decide for yourself that you will find out for yourself what is meaningful, what is valuable, what is true to you. And it's a quest that you go on. It's true spirituality in action. And anything else is worthless. It's worthless. Yana says we're sovereign beings, or should be. Should be. We're not. We're not. I mean, humanity at the moment, there are very, very, very few truly sovereign beings. And those of us that are sovereign beings are being severely hindered and hampered by everybody else that is quite happy to go along with the status quo. It's very, very, very difficult to truly be sovereign these days. It's an inside job. And to be sovereign these days is to go, as somebody said earlier, to go against the grain, to swim upstream, like the salmon. Essentially, we're sovereign, but humanity is enslaved, has completely lost touch with her sovereignty. And so we find ourselves in a situation where to reclaim our sovereignty takes a great deal of work, commitment, discipline. You have to go against the grain. You have to swim upstream. Bree, I have so many questions. Listen, for those of you that have lots of questions and that have something burning inside you that needs to be quenched, if you want truth, you have to do the work. And there are many ways of doing it. One way is that I'm here to help. This is the work that I do. I've walked this path. My partner Kimber and I have both walked this path and are still walking this path, and we're here to help people, to guide people. I do this every day. I have an online community. I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it because this is what I do. This is my vocation. So if you have questions, if you want to do the work, and if you want really effective guidance, then I invite you to join my community. Because it's very hard doing it on your own. I did it on my own, mostly. It's very hard. We need help. Yana says, so how are we supposed to live in society? Well, you know, the only way you're supposed to live in society is as a slave, because this society is a system of slavery. That's what this society is. It's a system of slavery. So I used to think, well, I'll just step out of society. You know, I'll live off grid, but that's not it. Because you take your shit with you, you take your problems with you, you go live in the community, and there you are with all your ego, all of your questions, all of your dysfunction, all of your unresolved trauma. What happens? It doesn't work. So you first have to do the inner work. You have to understand that this society, all society is a bunch of people. Individuals make up society. And the society any society will only be a reflection of the internal consciousness of the individuals, the collective consciousness of all of those individuals. At the moment, humanity, as I said earlier, is rooted in the first chakra, unconsciousness, ego, fear. The society that we have is a reflection of that. As within, so without. That's how it works. So how are we supposed to live in society? Well, as a slave. Or you change the system. And the only way to change what's out there is to change what's in here. And you don't change what's in here by paying attention to what's out there. You have to reclaim your attention, and you have to bring your attention close and internal, and to see what's going on inside here. Actually, what have I not been paying attention to? What have I been distracting myself from? Reclaim your attention, reclaim your breath, reclaim your life force, reclaim your body, reclaim your energy, reclaim your time. It's very hard because we've been told that you've got to watch the news because you've got to know what's going on, because virus, you've got to watch the news, you've got to know what's going on because rioting, you've got to know what's going on because injustice, you've got to know what's going on. You don't need to know what's going on the other side of the planet. You only need to know what's going on here, under your nose. Reclaim your attention, reclaim your time. If you're slaving away for a meager amount of money and you don't have time, reclaim your time. Turn your attention inwards and fix the internal dysfunction. Take responsibility for the internal dysfunction that creates the external dysfunctional society. But who wants to do that, huh? Who has time for that? It's painful, it's ugly, it's messy, it's hard work. I'm looking for some more questions. Hey, Kim. Vanessa says, love the discourse and really want to take that life journey and search for it. I'll say it again. I'll say it again. I run an online community. It's my Sangha. I'm going to post a link to it. I genuinely don't think that there are many ways, many better, more effective, more efficient ways that you could do this work. I was born to do this. So if you're sincere, you want to do the work, check out my Sangha. I'm not in it for the money, so it's not very expensive. It's very good value. I recommend it. Yes. Okay. So anyone that wants to know more about social engineering, you can start by researching Edward Bernays, and Ashley has left a comment about that. I just posted a link to my website. You can have a look at that. Again, I invite you to come work with me. As I said earlier, and I know very well because I've been in this game for a long time, most healers and most spiritual teachers are operating from a place of ego. So be careful who you work with and be careful who you pay attention to. Yes, social engineering, Edward Bernays, good tip. Thanks, Ashley. Hey, Dell, long time no see. Yeah, and Ashley also says, turn off the propaganda. Do not pay serious attention to the mainstream media. It's all propaganda. It is all designed to confuse you. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. So I'll give 2 more minutes for last questions, and then I'm out of here. And as I wait for those questions, I'll say, get into nature, get into the woods, get into the mountains, get by the sea. One of the problems that we have on this path is that we've been so conditioned to try to achieve something, to make something of ourselves. And life isn't like that, you know. Nature, it's out of, when we're in this mode of doing, restlessness, activity, we're completely out of alignment. Human beings need to spend a decent amount of time every day just doing nothing, just relaxing. Relaxing means doing nothing. Relaxing doesn't mean a glass of wine or a movie or, you know, listening to music. Those are stimulating activities and they're nice, they're great, you know, but we need to spend a decent amount of time every day doing nothing. What most of you will find when you really stop and do precisely nothing is that you start feeling like you're going crazy. Why is it that we cannot stop and just be with ourselves? Try it. Set the alarm. Start with just 20 minutes. You should be able to spend 20 minutes just with yourself, right? Doing nothing. See what happens. No mantra, no yantra, no music. Turn off the phone. Turn off all the distractions. Just sit or lie. But if you lie down, make sure you stay awake, because sleep is another little escape. And just be with yourself. And if you find it very difficult, if it's a painful experience, and you start having all kinds of unwanted thoughts and unwanted feelings, you may even find that you can't do it. You sit down and you try to do nothing, and suddenly you find yourself doing something. Suddenly you're in the kitchen, comforting yourself with a bit of comfort food, for example. Then recognize that something is very wrong internally and that there's work to be done. And that if you don't do that work, then in that last moment that I mentioned earlier, you know, that moment at the end of this life, which is coming for all of us, because these bodies are temporary, bound by organic laws of this realm that we're in, everything passes. In that moment, if you can't be with yourself now, then in that moment of dying, you'll be uncomfortable. And all of the previous moments, all of the glasses of wine, all of the beautiful concerts, all of the friendships, will be worth nothing in that moment if you cannot relax into yourself. Don't spend your life in a constant quest to achieve something, to get something, to avoid something, to distract, to run away, to run towards, because everything is here inside. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all else shall be given unto you. Where is the kingdom of God, or the kingdom of heaven? The kingdom of heaven is within. Seek within. If you cannot be with yourself, then you're a slave. Ashley says, what comes after crown chakra? I don't know. I haven't got there yet. Let's walk before we can run. Christopher says, how's the weather? Great, actually. But yeah, it's getting hot in here. Yana says, what should we be doing now? I don't know how many different ways I can say it, Yana. Yeah, It's not about what we should be doing, okay? It's about being. You said it, you got it. Be, do, have. That's the formula. Be, do, have. If what you're doing is not coming from a place of being, then it's worthless. I'll say that again. If what you're doing is not coming from your beingness, then it's worthless. And 99% of people are just running around like headless chickens. Do, human doings. We're not human doings, we're human beings. We need to come back to our being. That's where sitting silently, doing nothing, that's where you are simply being. When you can master that, when you can sit and be absolutely content doing nothing for long periods of time, then what you do will come from a place of deep peace. Then what you do will be worth something. Then what you do will be of value, will be a contribution, will be of service to life. That's what we're here to do. Not running around like bloody headless chickens, dogs chasing their tails, rats on the wheel. That's not what we are. That's how most people are living. That's how my father lived, who I mentioned earlier, and that's how he died. And it's a tragedy. I want better for you. Yeah, Daniel is talking about, if you want to research social engineering, if you want to understand how this society works and why it works the way it works, research social engineering. And there's a very good documentary that Daniel is sharing here called The Century of the Self. I think that's the one that I've seen. I recommend it too. Thank you, Daniel, for sharing that. Susan says, I'm finding that I'm doing the work, but lost souls are constantly coming to me for answers. When I tell them what they've got to do, they would rather hit the bottle. They want someone else to do it for them. Yep. Okay, people. I'll say it one more time. I invite you to come work with me. The work that you need to do is very hard. It's messy. It's ugly. It's painful. If you don't have good support, then it's really a struggle, you know. And with good support, it's still hard, but it goes much quicker and much less painfully. So I wish you well. Blessings on your path. I hope that you have the courage and really to turn inwards, to face into what needs to be faced into. And however you do it, I hope that you have the courage to do that work. Nothing else matters. Lots of love.